You can be surrounded by people and still feel like you are standing just slightly outside the room. You laugh when they laugh. You answer when they speak to you. You do everything you are supposed to do. And yet, somewhere underneath it all, there is this quiet feeling that you are not built the same way. That other people seem to move through life with an ease you never fully learned. If you have felt this way for a long time, you are not imagining it, and you are not simply being dramatic. Psychology suggests that the feeling of being different often comes from a real pattern in how a person thinks, feels, processes, and relates to the world. Sometimes it begins in childhood, sometimes it grows slowly over time, but either way, it usually has meaning. What makes this feeling so painful is not just the difference itself, it is the uncertainty around it. You start wondering if something is wrong with you, if you are too sensitive, too self-aware, too quiet, too intense, too complex, or maybe just too much. But the truth is, many people who feel different are not broken at all. They are simply noticing, feeling, or interpreting life in ways that are less common. Psychologists often connect this experience to a mix of personality traits, emotional sensitivity, social conditioning, and self-perception. Some people naturally process more deeply, some are more observant, some are more inwardly focused, and some learned early in life that being fully themselves did not feel safe or accepted. Over time, that can create a lasting sense of being separate, even when no one around them means to make them feel that way. If this feeling has followed you for years, there are usually signs. One common sign is that you often feel like you are translating yourself. Before you speak, you quietly edit your thoughts, you simplify what you really mean, you leave out the deep part, the emotional part, the part you think others will not understand. On the outside, it looks like normal conversation, but on the inside, it feels like constant adjustment. People with this pattern become skilled at blending, and while still feeling unseen, they know how to be socially acceptable, but not always how to be fully known. And after a while, that creates a strange split. People may think they know you, but they only know the version of you that felt easiest to explain. That is one of the loneliest experiences a person can have, not being rejected for who you are, but never fully showing who you are in the first place. You notice things other people seem to miss. It might be emotional tension in a room, a shift in someone's tone, or the way someone says they are fine while clearly meaning something else. When you notice more, you often feel more. And when you feel more, life becomes harder to explain to people who move through it more lightly. You often feel exhausted after trying to be normal, not just tired, empty. That exhaustion comes from constantly monitoring yourself, your tone, your expressions, your reactions, from trying not to seem too much or not enough. And sometimes, you can be deeply self-aware, but still unsure who you are. You analyze yourself, you understand your patterns, but you do not always feel at home inside them. Because people who feel different are often asking deeper questions. What is real? What matters? What kind of connection actually feels true? That depth can be painful, but it is not meaningless. Feeling different is not always a sign that you are separate from people. Sometimes it is a sign that you have not yet found the people, the places, or the rhythm that matches your inner world. And that distinction changes everything. Because you are not broken, you are someone who experiences life a little more deeply than most. And that is not a flaw. It is a clue. You move deeper, and that depth can feel heavy. But it's not meaningless. You may also feel both drawn to people and disappointed by them. You want real connection, not just surface-level interaction. But because your standards for emotional depth are high, ordinary conversations can feel empty. So part of you reaches out, while another part pulls back. Not because you don't care, but because shallow connection feels lonelier than being alone. People may see this as distance, but often it's quiet grief. Grief for a kind of connection you know exists, but rarely find. And this leads to something important. Feeling different doesn't always mean you don't belong. Sometimes, it means you haven't found the right environment yet. Because identity is shaped by context. You can feel completely out of place in one setting, and deeply understood in another. So the problem may not be who you are, but where, and with whom, you've been trying to belong. Many people who feel different are simply more perceptive, more inward, or more emotionally nuanced. That doesn't make them better, but it does mean they need more depth, more meaning, and more honesty in life. And when that need isn't met, they begin to feel invisible. But this difference isn't just a burden. It can become empathy, creativity, insight, emotional intelligence, the ability to understand what others don't say. The challenge is not to erase this part of you, but to stop seeing it as something wrong. You don't have to shrink yourself to feel acceptable. You don't have to keep translating who you are. And you don't have to believe that being hard to categorize means being hard to love. Sometimes, feeling different simply means your inner world has always been searching for something more real. So yes, you might be different. But different doesn't mean disconnected. Sometimes, it just means you haven't found the place that truly matches you yet. And when you begin to understand that, the feeling starts to change. It becomes less like a flaw and more like a clue. This channel explores the psychology behind the parts of yourself you have always felt but could not always explain. Subscribe for more, and if someone came to mind while you were listening, share this with them, because sometimes the most comforting thing is realizing you were never the only one.